What would you do if the woman who just humiliated you in front of the city's elite vanished without a trace? No records, no social media, no tournament, history, nothing. Now imagine this, you're Logan Whitmore, chess prodigy, son of a billionaire, undefeated champion at Seattle's most exclusive chess hall, until a janitor named Sierra Dawson sits across from you, rewrites your signature opening, and checkmates you in 26 moves. And then she disappears into the night like smoke. What begins as a bruised ego quickly spirals into an obsession, one that leads Logan from luxury suites to rain-soaked sidewalks, from whispers in marble lobbies to mismatched chessboards in forgotten corners of the city. Who is Sierra? Why did she hide her brilliance? And what will Logan risk when her past threatens to derail not just her comeback, but something far more personal? This isn't just a story about chess. It's about sacrifice, second chances, and the kind of quiet brilliance that refuses to stay silent. Stick around because the final move will change everything. It was a crisp Thursday evening in Seattle, the kind of night when the city lights shimmered off Lake Union like scattered gemstones. Inside, Silver Pine's lamps glowed amber behind stained glass arches, casting regal pools of light over mahogany tables. Whiskey and cedarwood perfumed the air. Latin quotations drifted between retired judges and biotech moguls hunched over 64 squares. Logan had just finished humiliating a corporate attorney in 18 relentless moves. The applause had barely subsided when the double doors sighed open and in rolled a battered janitor's cart. Every conversation hiccuped. A young woman in a frayed utility jacket stepped into view, sneakers squeaking on polished oak. Her name badge read Sierra. She was supposed to mop floors long after midnight, not break curfew beneath chandeliers worth more than her annual wage. Yet she glided forward with eerie, calm eyes locked on the champion who lounged behind a half-empty glass of 16-year scotch. Logan's smirk widened. The predator smelled effortless sport. "Can I help you?" he drawled, brushing a speck of lint from his navy suit. The receptionist, Vivian, snapped, "Miss Staff aren't allowed in the hall before closing." Sierra didn't answer. Her gaze drifted across the chessboard like a mathematician studying an exquisite proof she'd solved years ago. "You play." Logan's voice carried across the gallery, daring anyone to laugh with him. Sierra blinked as though resurfacing from a deeper world and nodded once. "I used to." Chuckles rippled. Logan felt the crowd gravitate toward the possibility of blood sport. "Let's make this interesting," he said, gesturing to the empty chair. 20 minutes. Pure fun." Sierra set her mop handle against the wall and sat not timidly, not brazenly, but with the posture of someone fitting seamlessly into a role she'd briefly abandoned. Logan offered her the white pieces. She shook her head. "Black's fine." Heads tilted. Declining first move against a prodigy, how quaint. Logan opened with his trademark Whitmore Gambit, the very line he'd published in Chess Monthly, the line that had cemented his reputation as an innovator. The opening 3 moves unfolded like choreography he'd rehearsed since adolescence. But when his bishop sliced toward center, Sierra responded with a pawn feint so surgical it collapsed the symmetry he worshipped. By move 5, Logan felt the rhythm of the room skew. Laughter simmered into uneasy rustle. He leaned closer, heartbeat audible in his ears. Sierra's hands moved with tranquil certainty, as if she were recalling a melody rather than composing it. On move 10, Logan realized he wasn't steering the game at all. He was being shepherded. Sierra's eyes never left the board, yet he felt uncomfortably seen, as though every hidden vanity, every half-formed calculation flashed across his forehead in neon. Sweat beaded beneath his immaculate hairline. He sacrificed a night desperate to ignite chaos, but the flame refused to catch. Sierra extinguished it with a rook slide that mirrored the positional note he'd once written in a footnote, an idea only diehards ever read. By move 24, silence smothered the hall. Logan's king staggered on the back rank pieces scattered like toppled monuments. Sierra leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper. "You published this line 3 years ago. You said the refutation was theoretically possible, but practically invisible." Her queen drifted into the kill box. "I guess I saw it. Checkmate in 26. No one clapped. Glasses hovered mid-air, mouths half open. Logan's breath came shallow and ragged, his arteries, a metronome of disbelief. Sierra reset the pieces with monk-like care, stood, and offered a polite nod. "Thank you for the game, Mr. Whitmore. I should get back to work." Her sneakers squeaked away. The doors closed behind her cart, leaving only the echo of wheels on marble and the suffocating truth that the invincible had been dissected by the invisible. Logan stared at the board long after the pieces blurred. He replayed every move, hunting for the trick, the glitch, the impossible shortcut, finding only his own hubris staring back. His phone trembled in his palm as he searched every tournament archive from Reykjavik to Rio. No Sierra Dawson, no teenage phenom, no online alias, nothing. How could a ghost understand his signature gambit better than he did pride, curdled into obsession? He drained 2 more fingers of scotch, but the liquor tasted like defeat. A thunderstorm rolled over Seattle, rattling stained glass. Yet the champion felt a stranger chill, the realization that for the first time since middle school, he wasn't the smartest player in the room. He was the study subject. Logan pushed himself to his feet, ignoring the murmured commiserations of patrons who didn't dare meet his eyes. He stepped onto the veranda, rain misting across his tailored shoulders, and felt something fracturing, something precariously perched between anger and awe. Sierra Dawson had walked into his cathedral, ripped the crown from his head, and disappeared into night. And though he would never admit it aloud, a thrill skittered up his spine, the savage exhilaration of facing an opponent who could annihilate him. He glanced back through the paneled windows. Everyone inside still watched him, searching for a cue on how to process the impossible. Logan allowed himself a crooked smile. The game had just begun, and for once he wasn't the one scripting it. "I'm truly sorry to pause our story right here and leave you hanging on that electrifying moment. But before we dive into Sierra's mysterious past and Logan's obsessive hunt, I have to ask, have you ever underestimated someone only to have them shatter every expectation in a single unforgettable instant? Do you think Logan's ego will push him to redemption or to ruin now that he's tasted defeat? Let me know you're rooting for Sierra or Logan. Don't forget to tap that heart and like the video so we can keep this game. Right now, if defeat was the spark, obsession became an inferno. 3 sleepless nights after Sierra's vanishing act, Logan Whitmore paced the paneled study of his penthouse, blue monitor light carving shadows across his face. Databases, Federation archives, even forgotten bulletin board forums, the name Sierra Dawson dissolved like smoke every time he thought he'd pinned it down. Yet he saw her everywhere, in the mirror behind his trembling bourbon, in the echo of each elevator chime, in the unplayed variations dancing across the ceiling when he tried to close his eyes. On the 4th evening, the city wept, the kind of relentless Pacific rain that turns Fremont Ridge into a river of slick brick. Logan, tie half-knotted umbrella forgotten, wandered the streets as though the storm might wash the question from his bones. It was the click of mismatched chess pieces that hooked his attention, sharp and hollow beneath a stone archway that usually sheltered 2 homeless veterans and their sleeping bags. He edged closer. Fluorescent lamplight revealed Sierra sitting cross-legged on a milk crate, sleeves rolled, teaching an older vet named Gus to defend against a back-rank Maid. The board was chipped, the pieces plastic, yet Sierra cradled each move with the same reverence she'd shown inside Silver Pines. Logan's breath caught. She hadn't vanished. She'd simply relocated to a world where no one measured worth in watches and wine lists. Gus noticed the intruder first. "Well, look who the rain dragged in, the king of Mahogany Mountain," he cackled. The small crowd of soaked onlookers chuckled, but Sierra just lifted her eyes, calm and unreadable. 20 minutes isn't a lifetime," she said, echoing their first encounter. Gus surrendered his crate. Logan sat opposite Sierra on a bent park bench, suit clinging to his skin. He opened with a hyper-modern fianchetto, a line he hadn't played since college. Sierra steered the position into placid waters, swapping queens early, forcing him to navigate without fireworks. 40 moves later, with pawns locked in a tense standoff, Logan extended his hand. A draw. No humiliation, no triumph, only the recognition that he was still dancing to her rhythm. They played 2 more games under the roaring rain gutter. Sierra won the tiebreaker with a sacrificial rook that left the onlookers gasping. Logan wanted to ask her everything: who taught you, why hide, but the questions tangled in his throat. As the drizzle softened to mist, Sierra packed the set and began to leave. Logan fell into step beside her, puddles splashing under his Italian shoes. "You vanished from every archive," he blurted. "You're soaked," she replied, pulling her threadbare jacket tighter. "I was researching," he admitted. "You won't find much." Her voice carried no pride, only simple fact. They stopped beneath the neon glow of Madison Ave bus stop. Sierra turned to face him. "My mom needed dialysis," she said. "My little sister needed a roof. Traveling to tournaments didn't pay hospital bills." Logan swallowed rainwater, mixing with the taste of shame on his tongue. "And chess waited," she murmured, as if the game were a faithful dog tied to a porch she might one day reclaim. Before he could answer, the bus rumbled up. Sierra stepped aboard but paused. "If you really want answers, come to Rainier Heights Community Center, Saturday at 9. No mahogany, no scotch. Just kids and plastic pieces." The doors hissed shut, leaving Logan with nothing but her reflection shrinking into the wet night. Back home, he pored over vintage newspaper clippings, anything that might link a teenage prodigy to the ghost he'd met. At 3 a.m., he struck gold, a 2006 snapshot from Prague's Under-12 European Championship, a girl with the same steady gaze holding a trophy twice her size. The caption read, "Sabrina Stefanidis, Greek-American sensation. Father Konstantin Stefanidis, international master." Logan felt the blood leave his face. Sierra Dawson, Sabrina Stefanidis, hadn't just been good, she'd been destined for greatness until she changed both name and destiny. The last public record, a terse regional note from 2012 player, withdraws from national citing family emergency. After that silence. Saturday, the sun surprised Seattle with a flare of gold. Logan's Tesla creaked to a stop outside the cracked basketball court of Rainier Heights. Inside, folding tables bore scuffed boards tagged with Sharpie names. Children between 7 and 13 waited, eyes bright, clutching pawns like secret treasures. At the front, Sierra animatedly sketched a tactic on a whiteboard. When the tiniest girl solved it first, Sierra high-fived her so hard the marker rattled. Logan had never seen joy function without currency. It stunned him. Class dismissed, the kids scattered. Sierra erased the board back turn. "You came," she said without looking. "You beat me once and drew me twice," he replied. "I need data games to study your style." She wiped the eraser dust from her palms. Best of 5. They played until the custodian dimmed the lights. Sierra tallied 2 wins to Logan's single, with the remaining games unresolved when the scoreboard flickered out. Yet it was the silences, her half-laugh, when he blundered, his sudden grin, when she baited his queen, that reverberated louder than any checkmate. Walking her to the bus stop, Logan unbuttoned his wool overcoat and draped it over her shoulders. She started to protest, then reconsidered. Rain-polished streetlights painted her features in silver. "Why Rainier Heights?" he asked. "Because kids here don't get many free chances," she said. "Somebody once gave me one." That somebody lingered between them, a shadow draped across the sidewalk. Logan inhaled to speak, but the bus groaned around the corner. Sierra slipped from his coat, folded it with military precision, and pressed it into his hands. The doors closed. Her wave through the smeared glass felt like a promise and a dare in equal measure. Hours later, Logan stood on his penthouse balcony, city lights blurring into constellations. In the span of 4 days, he had lost a title, found a mystery, and witnessed a purpose larger than any crown he'd ever worn. The chill off Lake Union seeped through his shirt, yet he felt feverishly alive. He pulled out his phone thumb, hovering over his father's number. It was time to wield Whitmore resources for something other than boardroom conquest. "I'm genuinely sorry to break the flow and leave you suspended on this rain-soaked revelation. But in your opinion, do you believe Sierra made the right choice, walking away from a guaranteed chess career to save her family? Or should she have fought to balance both? If you were Logan, would you expose her secret past to the world or protect it at any cost?" Right now, the autumn sky over Seattle flared gold on the morning of the Pacific Northwest Open, but Logan Whitmore felt thunder in his veins. For 6 straight weeks, he and Sierra Dawson had met before sunrise in the window seats of Elm & Vine Cafe, diagrams sprawling across the napkins, endgames replayed until the first commuters filed in. At night, they drilled tactics beneath park lamps, their breath twisting into white ribbons while streetcars rattled on the viaduct. Somewhere between those dawns and midnights, rivalry turned to friendship, and friendship began rewriting its own rules. Now in a hotel ballroom scented with polish and nerves, rows of competitors leaned over boards beneath fluorescent glare. The tournament director called players to stations. Logan and Sierra shared a lingering look that needed no words. He took board 7 against an international master from Toronto. She drew the reigning state champion at board 1. The air hummed with clocks clicking into motion. By round 3, Logan was playing the best chess of his life yet. For every victory he stole a glance toward the front. Sierra's style had sharpened into something fearless. A queen's sacrifice here, a rook lift, their each move a promise that she would rather risk everything than fade back into anonymity. Spectators drifted to her games, whispering about the mystery woman from Rainier Heights, who had erupted from nowhere. Then 10 minutes before the semi-final pairings, tournament officials huddled at the arbiter's desk, reading a tablet lit with an anonymous email. Accusation contestant Sierra Dawson had accepted undisclosed sponsorship from a private benefactor violating amateur status. A ripple of rumors swept the ballroom. Sierra stepped forward, calm but pale, as officials approached with rigid smiles. Logan's pulse spiked. He knew at once the truth behind the allegation. The grant he had arranged for the community center bore his family foundation's signature. He had intended the gift for the kids, but in a gossipier world, it looked like a rich man buying a contender. Logan could have stayed silent, saved his own reputation, watched Sierra fend off vultures alone. Instead, he left his chair, walked to the front, and spoke so everyone heard. The funds, he said, came from him. They were for public renovation, not private gain. If the committee disqualified Sierra, it must disqualify him as well. Delegates murmured. Cameras on their tripods pivoted. Finally, the chief arbiter cleared his throat because the donation had been disclosed through legal channels and never reached Sierra. Personally, she remained eligible. Logan, too. The email was dismissed. Spectators applauded the ruling, but as Logan returned to his board, he wondered whether he had just rescued Sierra's tournament or doomed his own focus. His semi-final opponent waited with a wry grin, as though sensing cracks in the prodigy's armor. The game unfolded like trench warfare, brutal pawn exchanges, an endgame of opposite-colored bishops. Logan misjudged the tempo, and his position crumbled. He resigned, shook hands, and accepted that today his path ended at bronze. Across the aisle, Sierra faced a Latvian grandmaster in the final. Logan joined the crowd, chest tight with a different kind of suspense. She opened with a Caro-Kann he had recommended only yesterday. On move 13, she sprang a pawn break neither of them had considered. On move 29, she marched her king into the center, daring disaster. On move 43, her opponent's flag fell. When the handshake came, the room burst into applause, so loud it drowned the clack of clocks. At the awards banquet, Sierra's trophy caught every chandelier beam, but her eyes kept searching until they found Logan leaning against a column. She wove through donors and reporters, ignored an outstretched hand from the governor, and stopped inches from him. "You risked everything back there," she said. "No," he answered, voice soft. "I finally played the right move." Sierra's smile was small but seismic. "I spent years believing sacrifice meant shrinking. You showed me it can mean growing." The band struck up a waltz no one quite knew. Logan offered his arm. Sierra shook her head. Too many cameras. They slipped through service corridors, escaping into the crisp night. Along the Cascade Riverwalk Festival, lights still sparkled from a recent harvest fair. Boats rocked against wooden pilings, waters whispering beneath them. Logan took a breath that tasted like cedar and cold. "Winning always felt empty," he confessed, "until I watched you do it." Sierra leaned on the railing trophy, tucked under her elbow, moonlight, turning the steel blue water to silver. "And I never let myself imagine a life that was brilliant and safe at the same time," she said. "Maybe that's what we're building now, something that scares us in the right direction." A gust lifted her hair. He reached up instinctive, tucking a strand behind her ear. "Sierra," he began, but she stopped him gently. "Let's start with this," she said, sliding her free hand into his. Fingers laced like pieces, interlocking on a board neither had mastered yet. No clocks, no titles, just the next move together. They walked on trophy, glinting beside them, city stretching ahead, each footstep a square on a vast new game. Somewhere a fairy horn boomed, but in the hush between its echoes, they heard the future clicking forward, one patient second at a time. Before we move on to the next story, I want to hear from you. First, do you believe Logan's public confession was courage or recklessness? Second, what do you think drove Sierra's final fearless queen sacrifice? Cold calculation or faith in something larger than the game? Tell me what you thought of this story. Comment no. 3, if it checkmated your heart. Number 1, if you're not satisfied. And number 2, if you're somewhere in between. Let us know which country you're watching from. And please tap the heart and share the video so others can witness how a single game can rewrite every rule.